Yeah, Pastor Rob here, and I'm with my dear friend, Ed Hope. We've known each other in fact, since 1989, you just told me, back in the Ben Parker Hope Chapel days. This is an amazing guy, his wife, Faith, and their son, Mark. And I'm doing a series of talks, if you will. In Matthew 15, it says, you are the light of the world. Like, you're the light of your world. And here's how I interpret that. We're to love our world. And I've asked Ed to come, who has a passion for the homeless, to come and share how we, the members of Anchor Church, who interact in this community with the homeless, how we can love on them. Because many times we look at them and we look right past them, but yet they're God's children. So Ed, you've gotten a passion. Tell us about your passion for the homeless. How did you get this burning desire inside of you?
Oh, that's easy. I was homeless.
Yeah.
I was homeless for a year in 1985. I had a company that, long story short, got upside down. I lost my house, lost my car. Didn't lose my business, but had to sleep on the floor in the office or sleep in the car. It was pretty much a nightmare. And it took about a year to get out of that. And it was a tough year. For the first, I say 3 months, I was kind of the walking dead. And when people say, well, why don't they get a job? You're not thinking clearly when you think your self-worth goes to nothing.
Yes.
And so I was really just trying to make it day to day, drinking myself to sleep or taking pills to get to sleep, and then waking up early in the morning, and I'd go to work. And the only way I was able to keep the company going is to work 12 hours a day, but I had to go off payroll. So I just had nothing, and except a lot of good friends. I was lucky in that regard, and people gave me things to eat and were encouraging me. And my wife, who was then my girlfriend, was encouraging me, even though she had left and moved to the mainland. And we'd moved together because I expanded my business, and it was the mainland that really failed. And she got a job in the airlines and stayed because she had nothing to come back to.
Yeah.
So fortunately, her route was coming back and forth to Hawaii, and I'd meet her at the airport a couple times a month. We'd have lunch. She'd pay for it. You know?
Then you've been married for how long now?
September will be 35 years.
35 years. And just to put a bow on this story, Ed became very successful. That company was very successful, and then sold it, and then worked for it. And now you're still on the board of that company. So it has an incredible end. But you possess a passion, a burning desire to help the homeless. How, talking to the Anchor family, can we love on the homeless of our community? How do we go about that?
Oh, that's complicated. It starts at the heart. I think my turning point was 3 months into being homeless. My office was on the corner of Bishop and Barris Tanya, which is a building owned by Lady of Our Priest, Lady of Peace Catholic Church. And I'd walk to work every day, and I saw that church, and I'd been away from the church 15 years or something. So what I did was, I said, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. So I kind of went in and sat there, and there was maybe 2 or 3 homeless people in there. And the way I was thinking is I fit right in. And I had no desire to go into a service and be around people. And I didn't even have anything to pray at all. But I just kind of made it up in my mind, I'm going to do this for 15 minutes, 3 times a week before I go to work across the street. And I did that, and things started to change. I think what happened is I just said, I don't have anything left, and he took it from there.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about loving on the homeless, it's a multifaceted thing. Some of the folks are dealing with drug and alcohol. Some are dealing with mental illness. on a bunch of range of things and that we come across. And talk about there might even be services. We might see someone, and then we might understand that there might be services that might be able to help them. Because I think what I'm trying to do here is trying to make sure that we just don't look past them and, oh, nothing to see here, and we walk past them. They're children of God, the Lord would put them on our heart to be able to say, hey, how can I help this? How can I make a difference in this person's life? But many times we're afraid to.
Yeah, I'm actually, in '89, I got on the board of River of Life Mission because I really wanted to get into that ministry. And about 8 years ago, I got on the IHS board. And they both do wonderful things in different ways. IHS has a lot of more staff. I mean, there's over 300 employees there.
Wow.
And they're an order of magnitude bigger than we are. And they have done incredible studies on the homeless in Hawaii. Everybody thinks homeless or generic homeless. Yep. There's some with substance abuse. There's some with alcohol and drug abuse. There's people who are mentally ill. There are people who got out of prison who could never recover from that. There are a lot of women that were in the sex industry until it chewed them up and they were old and it spit them out, and they have nothing. There's a lot of people who have been horribly abused in a number of ways. Then you have the military, PTSD. We identified about 10 or 11 causes of homelessness, and we have a service or a ministry for each one of them.
Wow.
You can't treat an alcoholic the same way you're going to treat somebody who's an ex-con, or somebody who was been sex trafficked. It's very different. The scars are different. Yeah. The healing is very different. But, one of the things that I used to always think about is, where do these people come from? Because at some point in their life, they were a newborn baby in their mom's arm and loved. Yep. And something happened. It very well may be the mother that went away, right after. It could be a number of things. And the other thing that I realized is, who hasn't done something stupid in their life? And it wasn't but for the grace of God or dear good friends that kept you from falling through the cracks. But, I have people that I know down there that have lost spouses, have lost children, cancer survivors that lost their job, a number of different, everybody has a story. Yep. And our job is to find out their story.
Yeah, that's a perfect place I want to jump in here. That might be our first move, is just to be able to engage them and ask them their name and find out what their story is. They're all over our community. They're different shopping centers. They're everywhere. And I think our responsibility as Christians in this community to make sure that we make a difference in this community. Like I said, the Word tells us to do that. So maybe the place to start is just asking their name, because we're not going to cure the whole homeless problem, but we can get in a personal way in people's lives and then figure out what their needs are. And maybe we could resource them through River of Life, IHS, and find out where we can guide them to eventually actually get them off the street if that's their desire.
Yeah, I agree. What we're trying to do now, because we're working closely with IHS and Touch a Heart and some of these other organizations that are wonderful, we want to start at this. It's so overwhelming, and there's so many. It's really not going to be solved by a mini church going down to a park and handing out peanut butter jelly sandwiches, unless you are willing to get to know one person and stick with them. Yep. And stick with that person and mentor them. That's really hard to do. What we have is caseworkers and people that'll go out and do contact management, if you will, yeah. and try to bring them into services. We want to stop feeding in parks. We want to say to them, if you want something to eat, come with us. So that we're going to try and start setting up hubs around the island, because as you know, and it's been in the news, that we're going to start feeding in Chinatown. Yep. Because when we went there, it was a very dark place. And they needed the mission there to be a place of light. Well, they've gentrified it. They've closed all of the strip clubs and porn shops and the gambling casino, all of the things that were making it a dark place. And now there are a lot of good restaurants and companies trying to make a living there.
Yep.
And a lot of the people are coming in from outside. I would say 80% of our guests now are coming in from outside. And
What do you mean outside? Outside
outside of Chinatown.
Yeah.
They're getting in on a bus pass, and they're coming from all over the place.
Yeah.
So we want to start moving out into the community and partnering with other organizations. But we're all about more than just feeding. We believe people need prayer. Prayer is a really important and valuable tool that has been wonderful for us to use as a ministry thing. But some people, you can't pray people out of schizophrenia.
Yeah.
You can't pray people out of some of the PTSD. You can, those are useful tools, but you need some professional help.
Yeah.
And so really what we're going to be trying to do is work with organizations to get people aligned with social services and make sure they're in the right wedge of the pie that we can identify so we know how to treat them.
Yeah. So as we talk to our church here, right here on this video, Ed, I think that what I want to do is encourage our congregation to not look past someone. If you feel called to, I mean, and God will give you your assignment, but if you're feeling a touch from God, hey, I need to ask this guy's name or her name, I want us to do that. I want us to take and have the courage and the boldness to be able to ask them what their name is, because they're human beings. And many are very lonely, and they're thought of as not worthy to be talked to. But I want us, the Anchor family, to really go out into our community and ask what their names are, find out what their story is, and get to know them. You know, like when you circle back to that place every once in a while, make sure you look for them and love on them. They probably haven't been loved on for a very long time. And they're children of God, like I said, and I think it's our assignment on the windward side of a wall to make sure that we know who they are and how to love them. And then, Ed, we're going to tap into your resources at River of Life and IHS and the social services that you might have. So maybe you find somebody, then you come to us and speak to us. Hey, listen, I found this person. How can we help them? And maybe we can all partner together and make a true difference in our community and just be the hands and feet of Jesus in the windward side of Oahu.
Exactly. Don't try and tackle too much. Make the contact if you see someone in trouble, and let us know. Depending on the type of problem, sometimes we could come and get them.
Yeah.
Or send some services over. But you just can't, some of these guys are some of them are violent.
Yep.
And there is a violent element that we haven't seen before. It's much more dangerous than it used to be, especially in Chinatown. It's not unusual for our guys passing out at lunch to get punched. So
that's scary.
You have to know what you're doing. What we're hoping to do, and as we go out into the community, we would like to partner with churches, give them some training, let them know what resources we have, what resources IHS have, and we're more than glad to work with anybody who's willing to put the time in to be able to contact people. And not everybody can contact people. Not everybody has that bold spirit. It's very difficult. I don't really have it that much.
Yep.
But you can join the team. And there's always a place, no matter what your talent is, we can use it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Ed, so much. Appreciate you and all you do, because it's our desire to make a true difference on the windward side of Oahu. So thanks for being with us. Let's love on our community.